Yo, what's going on, guys? Welcome into our live show here at Vikings Now by Chat Sports. My name is Patrick Siepman. Super fired up to be doing this. We're going to be starting to go on live almost every Wednesday here for the near-on future during the offseason. Obviously, the Vikings, there's a ton of questions around this football team, so I decided to hop in here and knock out a live show, and I'm super excited to be back with you guys. I already got a bunch of real ones. Spam and skull in the comment section. I think that's a good way to start it off. If you guys are a die-hard Vikings fan, give me a skull down below, and we will give you guys some love on the show. As I already saw Nick's Galaxy in the chat. Jacob, what up, baby? Ken's in the chat. Bulls Nation in the chat as well. Adam Schmidt, what up, Adam? How you doing? Hope all is well with you. Nick's Galaxy, Sports Card, and Sports Talk. Everybody's in here. All the real ones are. Shout out to you guys. Thank you guys so much for tuning in, joining us on a midday here on a Wednesday. I just appreciate it. Jacob, what up, man? How you guys doing? But, hey, Vikings, a lot of decisions are going to have to be made this offseason. And, honestly, I don't think there's any bigger decision than around the quarterback position, Kirk Cousins. So, I want to kick into this. Do you guys want Kirk Cousins as QB1 next season? Give me a Y for yes or give me an N for no as Sports Card and Sports Talk. Can I ask you a good Vikings question? Sports Card, you can ask me whatever you want, man. Whatever you want. Hashtag Vikings Zone. We'll tell you guys about that here in a second. And then Big T saying, Skull, Cousins 2 more years. Yeah, a lot of people are in that camp where it's like, if you want to bring back Kirk Cousins for a 1 or 2 year deal, you can still draft a rookie quarterback, have him sit behind Kirk for, a year or two or however it ends up working out. But, I think we've seen with what the Green Bay Packers have done with going from Brett Favre to Rodgers to Jordan Love, there is a incredible benefit from having a young quarterback sit behind a veteran, can kind of learn the NFL a lot better. And I think it's just it's a huge advantage to kind of have a guy just kind of take it all in for a year or two. So, listen, I would be all in, bring back Kirk, and also draft a rookie quarterback. And I do think also there's a lot of people in the camp where it's like, oh, if we bring back Kirk, it means we can't draft a rookie quarterback. I absolutely do not think that is the case. But Rocky's saying Y for yes and bringing it back. Gerald saying skull. Lily saying Y for yes. Same with Jacob. And then X is vibing. What up, baby? Saying anyone who says no is crazy. I'm kind of in that camp, and I'll kind of explain more once we kind of get going here on today's show. But Leaf is saying too expensive. We need to build our roster. And yeah, I think, listen, if Kirk's making $40 million a year next year, I'm probably saying no. But a little bit of me kind of thinks maybe Kirk would take a hometown discount. He wants his family to be in Minnesota. His kids are in the school system there. They've obviously been there for a couple of years. I don't think Kirk wants to completely, move his family to somewhere else and kind of completely start over. So I could see Kirk, maybe the Vikings throw him a 2-year, $50 million deal. And maybe he says yes. But Sports Card saying, do you think the Vikings will trade down and get a big haul and draft a QB in the second? Definitely a possibility. We know Kwesi loves trading down. Both drafts so far, he has traded down in, so wouldn't shock me at all. But this is something I wanted to do. We do this on a bunch of shows here at Chat Sports. It's name a random Vikings player. Now, this doesn't mean naming Adrian Peterson, Justin Jefferson. I want you guys to get weird now. Give me a random Vikings player. I'll start it off. Shout out to 2000 lot. Yeah, Marcus Davenport's a random Viking. Shout out to Trace. I'll go Sidney Rice. As my random Viking. One of my favorite receivers of all time, frankly, but that's where I'll go. Brock Lesnar, Bulls Nation. That's a great one. Brock Lesnar, was it 1 or 2 preseason games Lesnar was with the Vikes? I like that. Louie's going Randy Moss. Yeah, I guess you can't go wrong with Randy. Bulls Nation saying trade up with the Commanders and get Jayden Daniels. I like Jayden Daniels. I think Jayden Daniels is one of those guys. It's going to come down to where he goes. He obviously has the talent. He's got, super good athlete, can throw a really good deep ball, doesn't process the game as well as you would like as a guy that is, playing a 6 year of college football. But if we're trading up for anybody at number 2, I'm taking Drake May. Ed Cox, good one. Randall McDaniel, one of the best names for a guard in NFL history. Christian, who'd you say? Kenny Clark, that's a good one. Christian Ponder, man. Dante Culpepper's a good one. I like that. Roman Reigns, another great name for the Vikings. You can also go the Williams brothers. I like the Williams brothers as well. You could definitely go that direction. But Cameron Dantzler, my God. Cameron Dantzler. Trace said that's a good one. That's a good one. But yeah, name a random Vikings player. And then also, we are going to have a mailbag probably coming up here in around 30 minutes or so, 35 minutes. So if you guys want to get your question on the show, you guys will be posted on a show later on in the week, probably going out this weekend. But if you guys want to get your question up there, no matter what it's about, use hashtag Vikings in the chat. Our software will pull it. Your name will pop up on screen next to me, and you guys will get some love here on the channel. You guys kind of get a direct where a show will go. Also, if you guys want to support the show, you guys can obviously send in a super chat as well, and you guys will get your kind of like the fast pass at Disney line. You guys send in a super chat, you'll kind of skip the line, and you guys will be at the top of our mailbag. So use hashtag Vikings, and ask your questions down below in the comment section. Sports card, if you guys just put it in your actual comment, it's got to be an actual comment you want. It really just helps us out, helps my man Trace out, just kind of push the show along. Is Rocky saying Tommy Kramer, that's a good one. Jason, Chris Carter, another good one. But coming up on today's show, we're going to be diving in to my top 10 free agent targets for the Minnesota Vikings. That's going to be first up on today's show. Then also, we're just going to go over some Vikings draft rumors. I got a trade where the Vikings go up and get Caleb Williams in this mock draft I'm having. Then also go over the 5 picks that I think are realistically. Who did? Roman Reigns. I think it was for a little bit. I'm pretty sure. I remember seeing him in Vikings training camp. It was him and Brock Lesnar. Yeah. Yeah, no, it's pretty sweet. But use that hashtag Vikings. Get those questions in there. You got to attach it to your actual comment for you to get up on screen. But then we're also going to have a mailbag. That's how you guys do it. And if you guys already, I know, Roman Reigns and Brock, people really forget about that. Like, the Vikings had a freaking WWE practice squad. Yeah, yeah. They had a WWE practice squad for a little bit. But if you guys are ready to dive into it, drop a like on today's video. If we can hit the 20 likes today, that'd be pretty freaking cool. So if you guys want to help us out here, like today's video. But if my man Trace is ready, say we deep dive. We dive into my top 10 free agent targets for the Minnesota Vikings. Let's dive into it. Like today's video, and let's get it. Coming up on today's edition of Vikings Now by Chat Sports, I'm going to be giving you guys my top 10 players that the Vikings can sign during NFL free agency. A lot of question marks around this roster. I got 10 guys that could fit specific needs for this football team heading up here in NFL free agency. My name is Patrick Siepman, and welcome in. But I do want to kick it off here first, just talking about the Vikings' estimated cap space. Because right now, according to Spotrac, the Vikings are supposed to have $29.9 million to spend next year in free agency. And that's a decent amount. And a lot of you may be saying, well, what about guys like Jefferson, Darrisaw, Danielle Hunter, and Kirk Cousins? Well, Spotrac actually incorporated them into their projected estimated cap space for the Vikings. This was the projections they had for the Vikings' main big four. There are obviously a lot of question marks around them. They got Jefferson signing a $30 million deal this offseason. I honestly think that's a little low. I think Jefferson's probably going to be around $32 to $33 million. Danielle Hunter at $20 million. I think that's perfect. I think Hunter will sign a $20 million average annual salary. But then they got Christian Darrisaw at $24.6. I think that's correct as well. But then Kirk Cousins at $39.4 million. So Spotrac is estimating that the Vikings will have $30 million to spend on top of Kirk Cousins signing a $40 million deal. I think that's going to be more down towards 30. So I think Jefferson will be up maybe towards more 33. So I do think Spotrac has it right where the Vikings should have around $30 million, $33 million maybe to spend during free agency. But that's what they have for the big four on there. But also, guys, with free agency just around the corner, I got to make sure you guys are subscribed to the channel. And I kind of got a challenge for you guys from our bosses. The most subscribers we have picked up on a single show here on Vikings Now is 273. My boss's challenge just on today's video. Can we hit 300 subscribers on today's video? We can go check the analytics after the show. So if you guys are new here, want to support me, want to support us here at Vikings Now by Chat Sports, hit that subscribe button. Help us out. Maybe we can pick up 300 subscribers. Let's dive into it. Top 10 free agent targets for Minnesota here. And number one is a big-time name, the big fella from Kansas City, Chris Jones, the defensive tackle. And if you guys have watched any postseason football over the last couple of years, you guys have probably seen number 95 absolutely game-wrecking games. And PFF has his contract projection at a 4-year, $120 million deal. And probably I think that's right. Listen, Chris Jones is one of the best interior defensive linemen over the leagues, or in the league over the past couple of seasons. And obviously with the Vikings, really only having Harrison Phillips at that interior defensive line spot, adding a big-time name like Chris Jones, sign me up any day of the week. And he was pretty freaking good this past season for the Kansas City Chiefs. He is getting a little up there in age, but he's still incredibly efficient. 10.5 sacks, 13 TFLs, can play the run, can play the pass, and you guys always know if you can get interior pressure on a quarterback, it is the number one way to kind of throw them off their game. But Chris Jones, if there was a, we're popping a bottle of champagne here on the channel type of signing for the Vikings, it would 100% be Chris Jones. But number 2, Josh Allen, quarterback for the Buffalo Bills. No, I'm kidding. It's Josh Allen, the edge rusher for the Jacksonville Jaguars. That'd be pretty freaking sweet, though, if the Vikings could somehow get Josh Allen from Buffalo. But let's talk about the edge rusher from the Jacksonville Jaguars. He's an absolute stud. And I do think if the Vikings decide not to bring back Danielle Hunter, this is the next best option. Because, listen, the Vikings edge group, if you take away Danielle, are you really going out with DJ Wonnum, who probably won't be back till Thanksgiving? Patrick Jones, yeah, you could draft a guy, but if you take Danielle Hunter off this group, you have one of the worst edge groups in the National Football League. So if Hunter walks, I fully expect, whether it's a draft or free agency, for the Vikings to seriously be considering signing an edge or drafting an edge. But Josh Allen, absolute dog, would be the next best option besides Danielle Hunter. And number 3 for me, one of my favorite players in the NFL, if you guys ever watch these mic'd up moments that the NFL posts on their YouTube channel or their social media, Christian Wilkins. He is one of the best trash talkers in the National Football League. And he, again, very similar to Chris Jones, interior defensive lineman, can get it done in the rush and the pass game on defense. But PFF has his contract projection. This would be a cheaper option than Chris Jones. Still pretty heavy. I mean, it still would be $22 million per year, but PFF has him at a 4-year, $88 million deal. I would absolutely do that if I were the Vikings. This dude is is an up-and-coming, interior defensive lineman, would really solidify that group. And if you would sign Wilkins and bring back Hunter, I think the Vikings would be up there as one of the better kind of 1-2 combos at the defensive line. But you would probably have to send them a, decent bag at $88 million, or at $22 million per year. But Christian Wilkins, I'll be all in. Vikings need more help on the defensive line, so sign me up for that one. But let's talk about a cornerback, because I do think the Vikings, if you guys notice, top 10 or top 4 free agents right now, all on the defensive side of football. I do think the Vikings need to address that. But number 4, going to be the number 1 cornerback free agent target, and that is Jaylon Johnson. However, the thing is with Jaylon Johnson, I fully expect the Bears to bring him back. The Bears aren't going to let this guy walk out the door. He is a top 5 cornerback in the league. I'm a big fan of him. He's actually had good games. Even though Jefferson has put up good numbers against the Bears, I do always say that Jaylon Johnson has done a tremendous job on him. I'm a big fan of his game, but I don't think the Bears are going to let him go, especially with them bringing back Eberflus, a defensive-minded head coach. I don't think they're going to want to, let any of these blue-chip prospects, leave this organization. So Jaylon Johnson, if somehow the Vikings would get him, I'd be all in for it. But I do think with the Vikings kind of situation, they are going to address the secondary at some point. But I got 6 more names coming up for you guys here in just a second. But I do want to first give a big-time shout-out to today's sponsor, and that is PrizePicks. If you guys go to PrizePicks.com/CLNS and use that promo code CLNS, you're going to get a first deposit match all the way up to $100. PrizePicks, it is daily fantasy sports made easy. All you got to do, you're going to pick 2 or more players, choose more or less on some projected stat types, and you guys can start seeing the cash roll in today. Any game that I'm watching, you want to add a little more extra juice, I am using PrizePicks. This is actually a lineup I'm going to roll with for championship weekend. I'm keeping it simple here. I'm taking just Christian McCaffrey and Travis Kelce to score a touchdown this weekend. I think they're both going to find the end zone, 2 of the best players in each of their games, so I'm riding with those 2. But if you guys want to ride with my picks or fade my picks, make sure you guys do it at PrizePicks.com/CLNS and use that promo code CLNS for a first deposit match up to $100. That's PrizePicks, daily fantasy sports made easy. Number 5 for me is a more realistic option in the secondary, L'Jarius Sneed. Even though Vikings fans may have some beef with L'Jarius Sneed following his performance versus the Vikings this year. He was talking a lot of smack to Jefferson and Addison, but he's a hell of a corner. He's been having a hell of a year for the Kansas City Chiefs. even though I do expect the Chiefs to try and bring him back, but maybe he wants a little more money, and maybe the Vikings are willing to offer it because, listen, the Vikings cornerback room right now, they only got 5 names heading into the next season, and really, I'm not in love with any names on here. And even Najee Thompson, he is more of a special teams player for the Vikings. So you really have 4 corners right now on the roster, and Andrew Booth, you could pretty much chalk him up. Don't want to call him a bust right now, but he just hasn't worked out in the league. Caleb Evans, kind of in that same boat. I love Byron Murphy as more of a cornerback too on this roster. Mekhi Blackman had a really good rookie season, but he's a true lockdown corner. Probably not, but if you would bring in L'Jarius Sneed or a guy like Jaylon Johnson, they both for sure are. Now, another big fella in the middle, one of my favorite names on this list. Maybe I have him a little too low at number 6, but Justin Madubuike, the defensive lineman for the Baltimore Ravens. And the Ravens had the number 1 defense in the league this past season, and a big reason was because of this guy, and also shout out former Vikings legend Michael Pierce. But he had 14 sacks this season. It was the most among defensive tackles. The Ravens were actually able to it kept them in the interior most of the time, but they did also show off his versatility and put him more on the edge. And he's one of the best pass rushers, more of a pass rushing, defensive lineman, but he still can't get it done in the run game. If the Vikings would sign him, I would be absolutely, thrilled about that. But keep your eyes out on him. He could be getting the bag this offseason. Number 7, Brian Burns, another edge rusher here. And it's funny, the Carolina Panthers, this is a name that's been thrown out over the last couple NFL trade deadlines, and, for right reason. Brian Burns is an absolute stud. Obviously, sack numbers not up there as they were in past years for Brian Burns, but he is one of the best pass rushers in the National Football League. 8 sacks this past season. Actually has the ability to set the edge pretty well with 15 tackles for loss. Had a forced fumble, had a fumble recovery. Brian Burns, again, kind of in the same camp as Josh Allen, maybe a cheaper option than Josh Allen, but he would be definitely addressing a huge need on this Vikings team at that edge spot if Danielle Hunter were to leave during NFL free agency. But speaking of a biggest need, if you had to go kind of bird's eye view here, if you're looking at the entire Vikings roster, what is the Vikings' biggest need? Free agency just around the corner, the draft just around the corner. Let me know your thoughts. What is the Vikings' biggest need on this football team? We're heading back to defense, and we're heading back into the trenches for another one here, and that is Leonard Williams. He was with the Giants early on this season, got traded to Seattle right around the trade deadline for a second-round pick, and he was great. He was great with the Giants early on this season. He actually had a pretty solid year with the Seattle Seahawks as well, having 5.5 sacks, 10 TFLs. Again, kind of in that same mold of guys like Justin Madubuike and also Chris Jones, those types of players where he can get it done in the pass rush and the run game. I love Leonard Williams. He may want to sign a bigger deal than I think the Vikings would be willing to offer him. But again, Vikings need more help on the defensive line. This guy would definitely check that box. Well, let's kick it to the offensive side of football now, because interior offensive lineman, man, this has been the story for the Minnesota Vikings, I feel like, for the past, honestly, since I became a Vikings fan. There's honestly only one season where I was truly kind of confident in the interior of the Vikings offensive line. That was probably 2009. But adding a guy like Robert Hunt would be a huge addition. He's had a great year for the Miami Dolphins at the interior offensive line spot. Extremely versatile as well. Played both left and right guard this season. And, with obviously Dalton Risner right now being the left guard for the Vikings, but he is also a free agent, and kind of uncertainty around Ed Ingram. I think offensive guard is up there as well. And then another guy, Kevin Dotson, another offensive guard, as set to hit free agency. He was with the Los Angeles Rams this past year, and he would be another great addition. I think the Vikings, they're going to have to address this interior offensive line because, listen, I love what Dalton Risner did this year. He embraced kind of that Minnesota Vikings culture. He was fantastic. Pretty up and down, pretty like roller coaster, but, for being a guy you signed on a 1-year, $4 million deal, he was an A-plus signing. But again, Ed Ingram dealt with injuries at the second half of the year. Are you confident in him being the right guard of the future? I'm probably not. So if you would somehow get a guy like Dotson or Robert Hunt, it would be absolutely fantastic because you have the 2 bookend tackles. You have your center. If you somehow are able to shore up that guard position, it would make Garrett Bradbury's life a whole lot easier and obviously make whatever quarterback the Vikings do have next season, their lives a whole lot easier as well. But I just gave you guys 10 names. I gave you 10 free agent targets that I want the Vikings to sign. You guys only have to give me one. Who do you guys want the Vikings to sign during the free agency period? Give me your number 1 name down in the comment section right now and help us reach 23,000 subs here on the channel. I said it. Can we hit 300 subs on today's video? Unlikely, kind of over the top goal, but I trust you guys and I got faith in y'all. So help me out here. Hit that subscribe button. See you guys next time. Skol Vikes. All right, guys, let me know, who do you guys want to sign down in the comments section? As I saw Mr. Rick in the chat. What's up, Mr. Rick? How you doing? Appreciate you guys tuning in. As Leaf is saying, Kevin Dotson is a dog. He is a dog. He is so – he plays with just a tenacity that I love. Logan saying Antoine Winfield. So I was going to throw Antoine Winfield in there, but I think the Vikings safety position, I think they're going to roll out Bynum and Metellus for the next couple of seasons. Obviously, Metellus is locked up. So I want to throw Winfield in there, but I just decided not to. Zach Fortnite saying Michael Turk. Isn't Michael Turk? I'm pretty sure he's a punter. But Sports Card saying, let's get Josh Allen and keep Hunter. That would be nasty. I would be all in for that. But then again, you think about it. The Vikings do have to extend, Darisaw, Jefferson. They do extend Hunter or sign Hunter. And obviously, Cousins. Like, do you have $20 million per year you could give up for an edge rusher? I'm just not really too sure about that. As LL Card saying, any secondary player. Yeah, 8 of the 10 names I listed up there were on the defensive side of the football. I think it's going to be in the trenches or in the secondary, even a linebacker. Like, are you really in love? Like, I love Ivan Pace. He had a great year, but is he like a one-man band at the linebacker position? I know, sweet Prince Ivan Pace, man. Still so shocked how he went undrafted, but he had a great year. He had a great year. Third, fourth, or fifth round. Yeah. My man Trace and I, we were all over Ivan Pace. The other reason why you guys subscribe to the channel, we're going to have you guys hooked up with, the UDFAs, the late round guys that are going to ball out. Yeah, Ivan Pace Jr. Hudson, 100%.
Ivan Pace rules.
He's sick.
We called him. We called him. That was our boy.
It's because he was undersized. People didn't like that he was
People didn't like he's undersized, but, dude, he's the size of a bullet, and he hits like a bullet.
Yep. I freaking love him. I love what he brought, man. But we do have a mailbag coming up just around the corner. So if you guys still want to get those questions in there, #Vikings, or you guys can send in a super chat. If you guys want to get involved, #Vikings, get those questions in there. Want to answer those questions for you guys. A sports card saying, what do you think of Cooper DeJean? I've heard it pronounced 2 different ways actually by announcers. I like him. He's a freaky little athlete. I'll tell you what. Obviously, there are those stereotypes around a white cornerback in the National Football League. I think there's been one starting white cornerback since 2003. But I mean, this guy's a stud, man. So I'll be all in on drafting him. But we'll obviously have to wait and see what the Vikings do at 11. But coming up in just a second, I'm going to talk about the Vikings, what it would take to trade for Caleb Williams. Then also, I got my top 5 most likely draft targets for the Minnesota Vikings. So we'll dive into that right now. But make sure you guys do get those questions in there. #Vikings. Help us out. We would appreciate it. And also drop a like on today's video. We got 19 likes. If you guys want to get us to 20, who's going to be the one to do it? Just click that thumbs up icon. Free and easy way to help us out. But let's talk about it. Caleb Williams. How can the Vikings get him? Would the Bears do it? That's what we are going to be talking about right now. What's up, guys? Welcome to the Vikings Now by Chat Sports. My name is Patrick Siepman. Coming up on today's show, how the Vikings can trade up and draft Caleb Williams. Blockbuster move for Minnesota. I think this is something that Kwesi Adofo-Mensah could have up his sleeves. And, we heard the report that he was willing to offer 3 first-rounders to trade up and get Anthony Richardson. He may be aggressive this year as well. And at the later half of the video, I'm going to give you guys my top 5 guys that I think are most likely to be drafted to the Minnesota Vikings at 11th overall if they do plan on staying there. But I want to start off with this. There's a lot of noise about the Vikings being the worst team in the division for the next 5 years, with the Packers a young and up-and-coming team, Lions in the NFC Championship, Bears with 2 top 10 picks and a young and up-and-coming roster. I just want to show off the purple pride to start off today's video. I want the comment section flooded with skulls. I want it looking like US Bank Stadium, game day, blowing the gal horn. So if you guys are a diehard Vikings fan, show your support, show off your purple pride, and give me a skull down in the comment section. But I do think if we're talking about trading up to the number 1 pick, let's just look back at last year, because we do have some stuff to go off of. So the Bears obviously had the number 1 overall pick last season, and the Carolina Panthers, they wanted Bryce Young, and this was the haul they sent to Chicago to go get him. the Bears received the Panthers 2023 first-round pick and their second, which were picks 9 and 61. They also got their 2024 first-round pick and a 2025 second-round pick, plus DJ Moore in that trade. I don't think the Vikings have a player that they could kind of attach to a trade to Chicago that they would be willing to take in, but the trade idea that I cooked up for the Vikings, it would just be a draft capital haul. I think that's the only way the Vikings can pull this off, is if you completely clear house and you completely send almost pretty much every draft pick you have over the next couple of years to get Caleb Williams. But this is what the trade I cooked up. It would be the Vikings sending the 11th and 42nd overall pick, plus you would have to send your first, second, and fourth of next season. And then kind of just some more icing on the cake to entice the Bears, I did attach a third-round pick to get Caleb Williams. But, guys, you're going to have to give a haul to give up this guy. I think he is the best quarterback prospect, and you guys have heard it, since Andrew Luck. And even since his freshman year at Oklahoma, when he only played 6 games, he tore it up, man. He had 21 touchdowns, 4 interceptions in his 6 games at OU. His next season at USC with Lincoln Riley, he completely took over college football. The completion percentage up there as well, 4,500 yards, 42 touchdowns, and 5 interceptions that season. And then this past year, I thought he was pretty freaking fantastic as well. I'm not a good USC football team. You know, their offensive line was shaky throughout the year, didn't really have any true elite weapons, but he still had 30 touchdowns and 5 picks, over 3,600 yards, and that completion percentage damn near at 70%. We all know his ability inside, outside of the pocket as an absolute cannon of an arm. Ball looks like it's coming off a line every single time he throws the football. And I do think if he would be paired up in Minnesota with this support system that the Vikings are willing to offer him, like, I'm willing to say this right now, if the Vikings would somehow pull off this deal, they would no doubt have one of the best offenses in the National Football League next season. No matter who the rookie quarterback is that the Vikings do bring in, it has to be one of the more favorable landing spots for these guys when they're looking at possibly, you know, where they could get drafted. I mean, if you're J.J. McCarthy, Jayden Daniels, Drake May, Caleb Williams, whoever he may be, and you're looking at a team you want to go to, you're telling me the Vikings aren't at the top of their list? Throw into the best weapon in the NFL. Young and up-and-coming receiver in Addison, who's coming off 10 touchdowns in his rookie year. T.J. Hawkinson, no doubt top 5 tight end. 2 bookend tackles in Darisaw and Brian O'Neill. You also got a young offensive head coach in Kevin O'Connell. No matter who the quarterback is, man, the Vikings are going to be offer them, you know, a very easy support system, very easy transition to the NFL game. But going back to the trade idea that I cooked up, would you do this? This is the question. Would you accept this deal? A for accept, D for decline. Let me know your thoughts down below in the comments section. I'm curious to see what you guys have to say. It's a lot to give up for Caleb Williams. But again, you are getting Caleb Williams. Let me know your thoughts. A for accept, D for decline. So one of the biggest reasons why I do want the Vikings to do this deal is I feel like the Vikings are in one of the worst spots in the National Football League right now. They are stuck in purgatory where they are not good enough to compete for a Super Bowl, but they also aren't bad enough to draft one of these top quarterbacks. And I honestly do think that is the worst spot to be in the NFL. And I think the Vikings, if you want to get out of it, you are going to kind of have consolidate a bunch of assets, kind of push all your kind of poker chips to the center of the table, and I do think the Vikings could get out of this purgatory. Because let's just say, you know, you swing for the fences on Caleb Williams, and he doesn't work out. Well, guess what? You're probably going to be pretty freaking bad for the next couple of years, and you're going to have a chance again in the future to draft a quarterback. But also, what if he ends up working out? What if the Vikings have a Josh Allen or a Patrick Mahomes in Caleb Williams? I mean, that would just be fantastic to get out of this purgatory, get a true franchise quarterback on a rookie deal. It would be awesome. But the one thing that I am most skeptical about, even if the Vikings have the best trade offer for the Chicago Bears, do you think the Bears would risk sending Caleb Williams within the division? I really, really doubt that. I don't know if Ryan Poles would want to play him 2 times a year, even though the fan base, it kind of seems like Chicago and all the fans want to keep Justin Fields. But if they would have to see Williams in the division, throwing to Jefferson 2 times a year for the next 10 years, I just don't know if they would do it. And I also do want to get you guys this quote from Kirk Cousins, because I know a lot about the quarterback and, you know, how he will be returning this next season. He was actually talking to the press a couple days ago, and I wanted to share this with you guys on what Kirk had to say kind of about his timeline on returning. He said, "My expectation is that I'll be able to practice during OTAs as normal," good sign, "but the question will be, is it worth it? And so you have to weigh that a little bit. But my goal would be that I'm saying I can go and you guys are going to have to stop me because I feel that good. He carried on to say, if I'm not allowed into the full team drills, I know I can do basically a full speed practice on the field. Next to it is pretty much my goal. But 7-on-7, there's nobody around you. It's a safe drill. So at minimum, I would think that's a drill that a pocket passing quarterback would be very doable. Carried on to say this as well. And that's kind of the beauty of the Achilles injury, is that you can get back and you can get going again in a way that isn't as crippling as if it was a back injury or something that's a little more critical, like your shoulder or elbow. So it sounds like Kirk will be ready to go, which is a good sign if the Vikings do want to bring him back. So kind of wanted to give you guys an update on Kirk Cousins right there before we dive into, coming up here in a second, my top 5 draft targets, top 5 players that are most likely to be drafted by Minnesota at number 11th overall. We'll be getting into that in a second, but I do want to give a huge shout out to today's sponsor of Vikings Now, and that is GameTime, the best ticket purchasing app out there. And if you guys use code VikingsChat on your first purchase, you guys will get $20 off, whether it's a Minnesota Wild game, Minnesota Timberwolves game, whatever it may be, and you guys are buying a ticket to it, make sure you guys do use GameTime. And if you guys are planning on going to the big game, whether it's the Kansas City Chiefs, Niners, Lions, Ravens playing in this, if you guys are planning on going to the big game and you guys use code Vegas100, where the big game is located, whether you're a first-time user or long-time user, you guys will get $100 off. $100 off may not seem like a lot for a game that could go for thousands and thousands of dollars, but if you guys do have game time already and are planning on going to the big game, make sure you guys use that code Vegas100, and they will hook you up with $100 off. But Game Time, shout out to them, the #1 ticket purchasing app out there. It's the best seats, lowest price guaranteed. Get hooked up with Game Time today and use those 2 promo codes, Vikings Chat or Vegas100, and save yourself some money. But let's talk about the Vikings draft targets that I think are most likely to head to Minnesota. #1 for me, I think if I had to pick it, put my money on it in Vegas right now, who is going to be the Vikings first-round pick? I think it's going to be Nate Wiggins, the cornerback out of Clemson. And I am a big-time fan of Nate Wiggins, mainly because he is a big corner. He gives me shades of Xavier Rhodes. He's going to need to fill out his frame a little more, add a little more muscle mass to his play or to his frame. But overall, man, if you go turn on the tape with this kid, he is a strong physical cornerback, not afraid to get up in the face of receivers. The only negatives on him is he bites on double moves all the frickin' time. And, that could be a pro or a con. That means he's playing that kind of Trayvon Diggs type of corner where he will have the takeaways and he will have the interceptions, but he also could get beat over the top. It's kind of the scouting report on him, but I think it's incredibly likely that he could be the pick at number 11. Sticking in the secondary, Kool-Aid McKinstry. We'll say this, Kool-Aid McKinstry, coolest name that I've ever seen out of a draft prospect. The dude's name is literally Kool-Aid, which is why I'm a big fan of him. But he reminds me a lot of Brian Branch. I've heard the comparison to him, and every single time I turn on the Alabama tape or I watch Alabama play football, he jumps off the screen. I think that's the #1 thing. As I'm watching kind of defensive players, when I'm kind of going through this process, if I'm just watching a random Alabama football game, I want to see you jump off the screen. Kool-Aid did that. He flies around the football field. He's great in the run game, and he has versatility, which we know Brian Flores likes in his defense. He could be another option at number 11, but it could also be his teammate, Dallas Turner, the edge out of Alabama. Listen, Dallas Turner, there is a big 3 of edge rushers that I think the Vikings to take in Turner, Latu, and Jared Verse out of Florida State. But if I had to pick one, it would 100% be Dallas Turner. Same reason for Kool-Aid McKinstry. Any single time I watch Bama play this year, this dude jumped off the screen for me. 6'4", 242 pounds, from Fort Lauderdale, Florida. Had 10 sacks this past season. Only thing I didn't love about Dallas Turner, right after they lost to Michigan, he literally declared for the NFL draft literally 30 seconds after the fact. So don't love that in terms of just overall competitive nature in him. But he's an absolute dog, 5-star coming out of high school, blue chip prospect. If you would somehow pair him up with Daniil Hunter, sign me up. Sign me up. But name I love. A name I absolutely love, and I think you guys will too. An offensive guard, Troy Fontenot, out of Washington. Washington won the award for the best offensive line in the country this last season, and a big reason was this guy right here. PFF graded him out at a 74.6 overall grade this past season. Pretty solid. But 6'4", bigger interior offensive lineman from Henderson, Nevada. And I do think the Vikings, they're going to need to address that interior offensive line. Dalton Reisner, he wants to come back. But what type of contract? Could another team kind of swoop in and steal him from the Vikings? You know, we were talking about Ed Ingram earlier, kind of the inconsistencies with him. Take another chance, another blue chip guy, take him in the first round. Troy Fontenot, I would be thrilled if Vikings took him, you know, at number 11. I do think there is a good chance. But number 5 for me, if the Vikings are going to take a quarterback at 11, if they are standing in that spot and J.J. McCarthy is on the board, do not be shocked if they do decide to take him. Because I think if you're looking at McCarthy and you just think about his overall game, he needs a support system around him. We already talked about the Vikings support system earlier. And I do think J.J. is a guy. If you just have, you know, kind of a younger and athletic Kirk Cousins, frankly, like an extremely accurate quarterback. You know, we see it in his short yard passing stats right now, 119 out of 150. That is absolutely ridiculous. And I saw this stat. You know, for all the people that say J.J. McCarthy can't win it on the big-time third downs, you know, I saw a stat that came out last night. On 3rd down and 7+. So 3rd and 7+. J.J. McCarthy is actually one of the best quarterbacks in the entire country. He is the number 1 first down percentage by a quarterback on 3rd down and 7+. Also, J.J., number 2 in yards per attempt on 3rd down and 7+. Because all this talk around J.J. McCarthy, you know, he is not able to push the ball downfield. He did not have a deep passing attack at Michigan, and I get it. But also, I think a lot of that was he knew what this Michigan football team was. They were a downhill, run-first running game and our offense, and they weren't really able to, you know, push the ball downfield because I wasn't really in love with the receivers last year at Michigan. And I do think a lot of people, and I'll love this the most about drafting J.J. McCarthy. If the Vikings took him at 11th overall, you will go in the Instagram comments on that page. Everybody would be freaking out. All the Instagram commenters be saying, what a bad pick. This dude threw for only 120 or so yards in the national championship game. I would absolutely love that because the Instagram comments have never been right ever in my life. So I think JJ is incredibly likely at number 11th overall. But you guys let me know. I gave you guys my 5 names that I think the Vikings could take. Who do you guys think they would take? Who would the Vikings draft in the first round? Let me know your thoughts down in the comment section. And as always, guys, make sure you guys are subscribed here to the channel. We'll keep you posted with the latest round of Vikes. No matter what it is, draft content, free agency content, we got you guys covered. Help us reach 23,000 subs. Hit that sub button. See you guys next time. Skol Vikes. This guy's ridiculous out there. Shocked I was able to keep going. What's up, everybody? Let me know who the Vikings would draft in the chat. Is Mr. Rick saying, better be a sweet deal for the Bears to trade in their own division? Yeah, 100%. Even if the Vikings are able to offer the best deal out there, I'm sure the Bears would be looking at it be like, yeah, this is the best deal we could get, but do we really want to send Williams in the division? Rocky saying, I'm afraid Kwesi would trade back. Honestly, that is probably the most likely choice. If I'm being honest here, I think the Vikings trading back in the draft, probably the most likely outcome. Asher saying, do you think the kneecap sign the Lions made, or what do you think of it? I thought it was the biggest issue with that was that the NFL Twitter account posted that sign somebody made where it was like kneecaps bitten off. It was a Vikings logo. Obviously, T.J. Hawkinson going down for the year with a torn ACL and MCL. And then I think it was Higbee for the Lions, him going down with a torn ACL. Shout out to Kelvin Joseph, probably my most hated player in the league, by far. Zach Fortnite saying Jayden Daniels or J.J. McCarthy. Listen, I take Daniels. I think Daniels is a better prospect, no doubt. But Daniels isn't going to be there at 11, and Vikings probably going to have to trade up to 3 to get him. But again, the Vikings support system they could offer a guy like Daniels, man, is incredible. And I do think Jayden Daniels, if he was probably picking where he wants to go the most, I'm sure he is praying the Vikings trade up to number 3 so he can go throw the Jefferson and Addison. No doubt. I would love it. And he could still wear purple and yellow. That's a good point. LSU connection. No doubt. He's going to have to still wear the same armbands and everything. So, yeah, I'd be all in on Jayden Daniels. But we are going to get in a mailbag here in a second. So if you guys, more questions? Okay, dope. I do have 2 plants in there, which I get milk on. All right, we're live. But, yeah, what up, man? What up, bro? We go live now. JJ is the answer. The Instagram comments will hate it, but I do need your guys' help. ask a question. Use hashtag Vikings on today's show. We're going to get you guys involved here. Mr. Rick, Rocky, Zach Fortnite, X is vibing. Ask a question and use hashtag Vikings to get on the show. Jayden Barry YouTube. Get a question in there. You know ball. Get a question in there and we can chop it up.
We can't do the mailbag if we don't have questions. So
that is true.
Gotta ask some questions or there's some hot takes.
It's a two-way street here. It's a two-way street. Oh, X is vibing. That's cool, man. Your memes on Twitter during our watch parties this year were fantastic. Were absolutely fantastic. But I do need you to ask me a question right now using hashtag Vikings. Get them in there. Get them in there. It's Robert Rivera saying, sign Kirk for 2 years and get the kid from LSU. Again, I'm all in. I think the Vikings. You said what? Yeah, use hashtag Vikings with that. Ty Man the Buckeye, what up, baby? Hey, Ty Man, you want to help me out? Ask a question and use hashtag Vikings, and we'll get you up on screen. But I do think, I really do think the Packers have done this just so. I hate giving them credit, but like they have really played this well. Like again, when the Packers drafted Jordan Love, what did Instagram comments say? They absolutely killed that draft choice. They said, why would they do that? Yada, yada, yada. But they didn't see the vision. They didn't see the down the line. And now in his first year starting, think about that. Jordan Love's first year starting, he went to Dallas and won a road playoff game. Already has the same amount of playoff wins as Kirk Cousins. Like, oh, Asher, I appreciate it. I appreciate it. If so, will JJ sign it? Yeah, maybe. We'll talk about JJ too, Asher. But yeah, make sure you guys do get those questions in there. Mailbag coming up here. RC, everyone healthy next year. Yeah, I still think I did a pie chart of blame early on in the offseason, kind of chalking up what went wrong for the Vikes. And I did have injuries as 50% of it. Obviously, you can't view that as, just making excuses. But you lose Jefferson for 9 games. You lose Kirk Cousins for the whole year. Brian O'Neill missed the whole second half of the season. Shout out Marcus Davenport. He didn't play at all. Yeah, you did tell me that. He was the biggest disappointment this season. But yeah, I mean the Vikings definitely had the injury bug all year long. Hawkinson too. Hawkinson going out for the year. That just wasn't good. Was not good. As X is vibing, I just got that. I'm gonna check that out after the show. Jayden Barry, appreciate you, man. Appreciate you. Yeah. I will. Shout out to you guys. We're going to dive into this mailbag, though. But hashtag Vikings, you guys can still get them on screen. Appreciate it. And also, if we're in the cut and you guys want to kind of jump the line, you guys can also super chat to get your questions on there. But, Trace, you're ready? We can dive into this. What's going on, guys? Welcome to the Vikings Now by Chat Sports. My name is Patrick Siepman. Coming up on today's show, we have a Minnesota Vikings rumors mailbag where we take questions during our live show, where we do go live every single Wednesday at around 1 p.m. Central Time. So make sure you guys do tune in for that and hit that subscribe button. Let's kick it off to our first question on today's show, coming in from my man Skull Nations. And he said this: did you see that Devante Adams wants to play with Kirk Cousins? And oh, yes, I did. And I knew somebody was going to ask about this. So I do want to show you guys a quote. So Devante Adams was on a podcast. Somebody asked him just like, what type of quarterback, would you want to play with, with the Raiders with an opening at that spot? They're just kind of talking quarterback, talking shop. And this is what Devante Adams said about Kirk Cousins. He said, I like a Kirk Cousins. I think Kirk Cousins is a really good quarterback. As far as availability, I think Kirk is a really good player. And this was kind of Devante Adams recruiting Cousins a little bit. The Raiders do have an opening at that quarterback position. And, with Antonio Pierce come back as head coach, a new GM there in Las Vegas, maybe they view Kirk as that guy, kind of sandpaper this Raiders roster, because the Raiders do have a good roster. They have a good defense, got good weapons on the outside, obviously being the best one being Devante Adams. So Devante Adams is saying, give me a guy like Kirk Cousins, and I could probably go back to being the best receiver in the NFL. And I do want to make this point also. The Vikings are not getting Devante Adams. I had a couple people reach out to me on Twitter saying, did you see this? Could the Vikings go out and get him? Yeah, technically they could. Devante Adams, his contract is already paid for next season by the Las Vegas Raiders, but that also means you'd probably have to throw in the 11th overall pick to go get a guy like that. And again, it would be sweet to have Jefferson, Devante Adams, Jordan Addison, TJ Hawkinson. But again, there's only one football to go around, and I don't know if Jordan Addison would be too thrilled about being the third or fourth option on any given Sunday. But pretty cool that Devante Adams giving Kirk Cousins his flowers. I think it just kind of shows that, Kirk is respected around the NFL, and, maybe he doesn't have the best reputation outside the league, but I do think the guys in the league and the guys actually playing the game have a huge sense of respect for him. We've heard what Jefferson has said about him throughout this offseason, so pretty cool just to see another top-end receiver, showing him some love. But in terms of bringing in Devante Adams, would you trade for him? Would you trade the 11th overall pick for Devante Adams? Great player, but again, not a position of need at all for the Vikes. Give me a T for trade or give me a P for the pass. Let me know your thoughts down below in the comments section. We're going to kick it to Asher Ackley with the question. They say, do you think the Vikings have a chance to trade for Dak? If so, will JJ sign a record-breaking deal? Trading for Dak, I am so out on this. I've been in the camp that if the Vikings are bringing back a veteran quarterback, just have it be Kirk Cousins. The dude wants to be here. And honestly, I think Kirk and Dak are the same quarterback in my opinion. I just think Dak has a better brand than Kirk Cousins. That's why most people would probably, if you ask the street and we're just polling people, who would you rather have, Dak or Kirk, probably say 60% go Dak Prescott. But I think they're the same quarterback. I think Kirk might be a little better than Dak Prescott. So if you're bringing back a veteran quarterback, kind of ties into that old Russell Wilson nonsense that the Vikings could be a landing spot for him. But if you're bringing a guy back, just have it be Kirk Cousins. They also say if they will JJ sign a record-breaking deal. It doesn't matter what the Vikings do. You sign Jefferson to a record-breaking deal. I don't care if it's Jaron Hall starting at quarterback again next season. Number 18 has to be locked up. As then Rocky asking a hard-hitting question. Would you consider trading Justin Jefferson and rebuilding? Listen, this has been floated out there a lot. There's a longtime beat reporter for the Vikings that wrote up an article saying the Vikings should consider trading him because the Vikings just aren't really in a position to compete. And, we've talked about it. The division, it is on the way up. You can make an argument right now, NFC North will no doubt be the best division in football next season, but considering the Lions and Packers will probably be two top 10 teams, the Bears play this offseason correctly, they might be a top 10 team as well in the NFL. And, and the Vikings have a lot of decisions to make. Maybe they kind of push this down the line, trade Jefferson. Maybe you send him. The Arizona Cardinals have shown interest in Jefferson. Maybe you get the number 4 overall pick and a pick for next year. Maybe you just draft Marvin Harrison at 4, kind of replace Jefferson, get another first-round pick, kind of push that. It's so funny. We talk about Jefferson kind of like he's on like a rookie quarterback contract, kind of push that contract down the line a little bit. So would you consider it? I absolutely would. But again, I don't think you trade blue chip players. I don't just think Jefferson is the best player or best non-quarterback in the National Football League and the best receiver. I think Jefferson has a chance to be 100% one of the best receivers of all time. He'll be top 5, no doubt about it. So probably not in trading Jefferson, but definitely an interesting thought. Now let's kick it to Zach Fortnite and more too, saying, do you think the Vikings should trade up to 2 or 3 to get Jayden Daniels? Probably more likely going to be 3. I think the Commanders are for sure going to sit there and take either Drake May or Jayden Daniels, whoever they decide. But, I think Jayden Daniels, he'll work out in Minnesota. He is in kind of a boom or bust prospect, and I think a lot of the times with those types of quarterbacks, like if Jayden Daniels would end up in Washington, I would fully be willing to say he will not work out in the NFL because of the support system Washington will be able to offer him. But on the Viking side of things, he'll be able to offer a unreal support system. So I would be all in on getting Jayden Daniels. I think he would work out in Minnesota. And you actually give a quarterback that the Kevin O'Connell would be kind of able to mold and kind of turn into his own, which I think would be a cool little tidbit. So keep him in the purple and gold. Get the LSU kid. Have that LSU connection of Daniels to Jefferson. So I would be absolutely all in on that. But the greatest ever coming in right now saying, when do you think Justin Jefferson will get extended? I'm getting nervous. Yeah, I'm getting nervous too. This should have been done last offseason, and the Vikings haven't done it yet. And the thing is with Jefferson, like, Jamar Chase is going to get paid very shortly. The Bengals aren't going to mess around. They're going to pay him. I want Jefferson's deal to get done before Jamar Chase's, because once Jamar Chase gets done, what do you think Jefferson's going to say? He's going to say, like, see that contract? I want at least $1 million or $1 million per year more than that. So why not just get it done? That's why I was in the camp. You should have just did it last season where you could lower his cap hit. Because now, Jefferson has an argument. Seriously, like, he really does have an argument that he should be making $35 million a year. So, yeah, I think it should get done this offseason. But, again, I am getting nervous as well. But I'll kick it to you guys. How much per year would you give Justin Jefferson? What is the max you would do? I'm probably giving him around 30 to 33. Don't know if it would be more than that. Just because, again, it is a receiver. It's more of an icing on the cake type of position. But let me know your thoughts. How much per year would you give Justin Jefferson? Ty Man, the Buckeye. What up, baby? Kicking it to him here. He says this. Do you think we will make the Super Bowl next year, Skull? Ty Man, if there was, trying to think of a path for the Vikings to make the Super Bowl next season, I think the Vikings' best chance to make the Super Bowl would be re-signing Kirk Cousins. You go sign, Josh Allen, get another edge rusher next to Hunter, and you really just kind of believe in the fact that the Vikings were one of the better teams in the NFL last season before Kirk Cousins got hurt. You just say run back this same unit, Kirk another year under Kevin O'Connell, Jefferson, Addison just another year in the NFL. I mean, they're going to be better, and just let Brian Flores cook with this defense for one more season. I think that's their best chance, and we'll say NFC is wide open. There is really, I was thinking about who is the best quarterback in the NFC heading into next season, because I think a lot of us thought it was either like Jalen Hurts heading into the year, but I definitely don't think it's him. I mean, you could make an argument it's, Jordan Love being the best quarterback in the NFC, Kyler Murray. I mean, Kirk would be right up there with them. So I think the best chance for the Vikings to make the Super Bowl would be to bring back Kirk next year. But X is vibing, says, if we don't re-sign Hunter, do we go after Jared Verse or a Chop Robinson instead of a quarterback in round one? 100%. Kind of going back to the last question. If the Vikings want to just kind of go all in on 1 year, you don't draft a quarterback, obviously. You go get an edge rusher or a member of the secondary. That's what I would do. But honestly, I would want them to re-sign Hunter and draft a guy like Jared Verse to develop under a Danielle Hunter. Obviously, it would make Jared Verse's life a whole lot easier because he wouldn't be getting chipped. He wouldn't be getting doubled. That would all be Hunter. And you allow Verse to just go one-on-one with whatever team's tackle is taking that responsibility. So, yeah, X is vibing. Great question. I'd do it. As Asher Ackley, last question of today's show, saying, do you think Jared Allen will make the Hall of Fame this season? I sure hope so. Jared Allen, one of my favorite players of all time, one of the greatest jerseys of all time, wearing number 69. He was inducted to the Vikings Hall of Fame this past season when he came in riding a horse. It was absolutely sweet, but I sure hope he will. I mean, one of the better edge rushers that we have seen in Minnesota history and just overall NFL history. Had that one season where he had 22.5 sacks. He was great. One of my favorite Vikings players of all time. He was at his peak when I was kind of first becoming a Vikings fan, so he kind of sparked my love in this football team. So Asher, 100%. Give me Jared Allen in the Hall of Fame because he definitely deserves it. But guys, thank you guys so much for watching today's show. Listen, free agency, the draft, they're all coming right now, and there's a ton of questions are coming up shortly, and there's a ton of questions around Kirk. What are they going to do with Hunter, Jefferson, a ton around the Minnesota Vikings. So make sure you guys are subscribed to the channel. Thank you guys so much for watching. See y'all next time. Skol Vikes. All right, everybody. Appreciate it. Appreciate everybody tuning in to our live show. Oh, who cares? I think we're good. Yeah, I think we're good. There you're good. Yeah, Asher's saying Skol. Clone Fran Tarkenton. Yeah, cloning Fran Tarkenton would be a great way for the Vikings to make the Super Bowl. Raise the season ticket prices. Yeah, maybe you have to. Maybe we start a GoFundMe for Jefferson, Mr. Rick. Maybe that's the play there. Maybe that's the play. But really do appreciate you guys tuning in. We're gonna be trying to do these every single week at 1 p.m. on Wednesday, or at least around 1 p.m. We may change the time a little bit. But seriously, just want to say thank you guys. This is the middle of the workday. Most of you guys are probably at work or just hanging out. So seriously, I do want to say thank you guys so much for everybody who tuned in today and everybody who asked a question. Time and the Buckeye, Rocky, Asher, all you guys hanging out. As Asher will close it with this, who do you think will win MVP in the Super Bowl? I think they're actually on the same football team. I think it's going to be Lamar Jackson and the Baltimore Ravens. Doing that, is Rocky saying, is there a Timberwolves channel? There's not a Timberwolves channel, but maybe we need to start one since they're on the way up. They're a very, very good basketball team. But really do appreciate it. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. See you guys next time. Skol Vikes.